Hi, this is Wanda Hardberger. I am the red-headed Okie that likes to talk, and today I have a guest with me. This is my lovely daughter, Shalise, and we are going to talk about Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, today's format is a little bit different. Shalise has read the book, and I watched the series. It was 10 episodes. Not entirely sure 10 episodes was necessary, but it was 10 episodes, and I made it through the whole 10. But I'm going to let Shalise go first and talk a little bit about the story. Just give us kind of a summary of the story and kind of what your feelings were on it.
Okay. So I will say that I did not know what the story was about until I literally started reading it. At the very beginning of the book, there's an author's note, and it kind of gives a brief explanation that this book is about a band, and it's set up in like an interview format so that you get each band member's viewpoint on basically the creation of the band itself and their life while the band was at its highest peak.
And I will say that the TV show had the same format. It was kind of like a documentary. They were speaking into a camera, and then there would be like photos or like kind of old style camera work showing them, laughing and joking and singing and whatnot. And then it would go to what I'm assuming, not necessarily a flashback, but what stories they were telling. But I saw it played out, in a scene. All right, go ahead. What's next?
um I mean, that's basically the story, that it's an explanation. And am I allowed to give spoilers, like, is it?
Yes, this is a
Yes.
full.
Okay.
Okay, good thing to bring up. This is a full spoiler alert video. If you have not seen the show or read the book or whatever, and you don't want to hear any spoilers, you should go watch it, read it, whatever, and then come back and then watch it. Go ahead. So, spoiler alert.
Yes, so the twist of it that caught me, and I thought it was a cute little thing. You find out about three-fourths of the way through the storyline, that the interviewer is the daughter of the band.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Billy Dunne
the
is
lead singer of the band.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's the lead singer. So
yeah.
yeah.
So they were holding that back, and then you don't realize it until it literally stops you, and it's like, okay, hold on, I gotta put a pause here, in the storyline and explain what I'm about to do here. And then that's when you find out that she, the oldest daughter, which plays a little bit of a role in the Billy's development, I think is the best way to say it, is actually the interviewer, which is a funny twist because of like that, because of what her existence plays a role in Billy's development as a person.
So this is Specs. So anyway, in the TV show, or in the series, I guess I'm not sure what to call it. It's 10 episodes. I don't know that mini series applies there, but limited series. That's the word. Um, the you find out about that it's the daughter behind the camera, at the very end,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting a feeling that the daughter probably played more of a role in the book than she did in the
That's
series.
fair.
That's anyway. So we're still amateurs, so you'll have to bear with us. We do apologize. But go ahead. Tell us the story. What's the story? So we know Billy is in a band. We know we got a documentary interview kind of thing going on. What's the story basically about? Who's Billy
Yes.
and what
Okay.
is his story?
So you learn, get introduced to Daisy, and so the title of the book is Daisy Jones and the Six. So you get introduced to Daisy Jones.
Mhm.
You find out that she's comes from a bit of a well-off family, but she's an only child, and her mom and dad really two very different lives as a family that's not a family setup. And she learns at a very young age, at like 14 years old, that if she doesn't wear a bra, that she comes across as a little older and can fit in and sneak into these bars and these clubs where a bunch of musicians and bands play.
So this is all. It starts in the '60s
I would say so, yeah.
and plays through the end of the '70s. I think though that the interview thing is taking place in the series. It takes the documentary thing is going on at like the '90s because it's like supposedly a 30-year anniversary of some type. And
65 to 72 is kind of the start of it. And then it's like, so probably mid 70s is when
so plays through late 60s to the late 70s, so about 10-year span of the book covers.
I think so, yeah.
And so she's sneaking out, she's going to these bars.
Yeah, and she just kind of gets in with these groupies, and it's kind of mentioned a couple of times that she just has a naturally good voice. So I don't know where that plays in with everybody, but she eventually that's her lead in, that she just naturally has this good voice. So you learn about her just a little bit, and then you start getting introduced to the six. And the six started out as Billy and Graham were the brothers.
Yes.
Billy and Graham
Dunne.
Funny little thing. I didn't realize it was pronounced Dunne until the very end of the book, because there's this reference to hot sauce, and the thing that they say about the hot sauce, I realized it's pronounced Dunne.
What is the thing about the hot sauce?
I have to look it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you do that, and I'll talk a little bit. So what I saw in the series is that there was the two brothers, Billy and Graham. Billy, I don't know. I kind of got the impression that he was like a big deal in their hometown or their high school. He's walking around carrying a guitar, and everybody's like, "Hey, yeah!" And Billy and so him and his brother want to form a band, of course, and then there's the drummer guy. Shoot, I can't remember what his name. Warren. Oh, Warren.
No, I don't think Warren was the drummer. I think Warren was the other guitar player. He was like
I think in the show, Warren. I think was he the.
Warren ends up with the chick. Okay. Karen. So there's a girl named Karen, and funny thing, I don't know if they do it in the.
They took her out of the show.
She wasn't even part of it?
She wasn't in the show, no.
Okay, so there's this girl named Karen, and it's kind of funny how they introduced, because apparently Billy, right, as a band, there's like four of them, and they get introduced to Karen, and they ask Karen, what's Karen's name? And Karen goes, my name's Karen. And they asked what her last name is, but she thought they said, what's your name? So she said her name again. So she was known as Karen after that.
No, no, Karen was not in the.
That's kind of funny, because Warren and Karen are a love interest at some point, and there's this whole
not a whole lot
bit on that
in the series. The TV show, the other band members, the drummer, the bass player, those two guys, they have a little bit of a story, but there's not a whole lot about them.
That's really kind of sad.
And I was hoping, because I will be reading the book after this, that there was more about them.
Yes, there is a little bit. So, like I said, you got Billy and Graham, and it's the hot sauce is Dunne burnt my tongue off. That's how.
Okay, that's a name for a hot sauce. All right. So okay,
so the brothers, and then what did I say? And then Graham, and then originally there was a guy named Chuck that was in the band.
The one that quit to become a dentist.
No,
is that somebody else?
That never happened.
Okay.
I don't want to say it never happened. So he did. So
when they got ready to go on tour, he was like, "No, I'm not going. I'm done." When they got ready to go to California, because they were from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, one side, and they went to the other side.
Yeah, and when they got ready to go to Los Angeles, the one guy in the band I think he was the bass player in the TV show, and I can't remember his name. He was like, "No," he says, "I'm going to college because this is just a pipe dream. Nothing's ever going to happen of it."
So there was a little bit of that, but okay, we're getting all the
getting ahead of ourselves.
So the brothers, Billy and
Graham,
a little
more linear.
And then there's Warren and Karen, the love interest there, and then Chuck. That was the original. So Chuck was with them to begin with. But then Chuck gets drafted into the war.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's a little story of where he actually that's the end of it. You find out about Chuck.
He's barely a mention of the war in the show,
and then they find out that he died during the war. So
Yeah.
Chuck's no longer part of the band. So they got to figure out a different, person. And then that's when they bring on, there's somebody named Eddie. And I think Eddie's the one that replaced Chuck, but there was somebody else. I think his name was Billy, maybe. No,
No,
Billy was the
Billy's the main
original.
guy.
Who's the other
Billy
guy?
and Graham's the brothers because the original band in the
Peter?
show was the Dunne
There
brothers.
might be a Peter. But
Honestly,
Peter
I
and
couldn't
Eddie
say.
were brothers. So there was two brother sets. There was Billy, the original.
Oh, okay.
And then
Yeah,
there
they
was
changed
another
that.
brother set.
Yeah, they definitely changed that from
So that's how
the
you get
series. Yeah.
the six. So you have the two, Karen.
Oh, because see, in the show, there's a whole thing about them deciding on the name and deciding on the six, but there were only 5 of them.
That's fair.
Okay. Oh, and Karen in the show, it just dawned on me. Karen Sirko was she played keyboards.
Yes, Karen plays the keyboard,
but she was not involved with Warren. She was involved with Graham later, but not with anybody else in the band.
Yeah, no, there was this. He was like super in love with her. And
Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, Warren. Whoever it was that got with her. I was thinking it was Warren because I thought it was the brothers. Billy went.
You said you took notes.
I did, but apparently not.
Tell her to get her notes. And I'm going to look up the TV show characters because I thought I'd be able to remember them because I just finished this yesterday. But apparently I've slept since then, so I cannot remember because I am of a certain age and we don't have to go into that part. So,
so the bands, you got the band members there, and basically Billy's story is he's the lead singer. He meets this girl named Camila.
Yeah.
And he ends up marrying Camila. And Camila, I think, is a very strong person. She, number one, being a wife of a lead singer of a band in the 70s, had to, that you have definitely. To be very strong. But there's a couple of times that she mentions, there's a line that she says about you have to have faith in people because it's not faith if they have to earn it, is how it's worded, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's basically how she sees Billy, because Billy messes up a lot.
He does.
A lot. And that's talking about the daughter. He is not there for the first month of his daughter's life because he was on drugs, basically. Yeah. And doing rock and roll stuff.
And sex, drugs, rock and roll, and all that good stuff.
And Camila was basically, she gave him until the day, Labor Day, right? The day the baby was going to be born. Mm-hmm. And he still wasn't together. And the producer, whoever manages the band, basically was like, look, you can go up there and be a dad, or you got to go to rehab. And he went to rehab.
So in the show, it was this guy named Teddy Price.
Yes, Teddy.
That was their guy. He was kind of the father figure. Mm-hmm. He was like,
at one point, very much a father figure to Billy.
Yeah, he at one point he said, I never wanted to be a father, but I found myself in that because I did, because apparently it said something along the lines like his father had abandoned him, and so he never thought that he would be a father, but he found himself in that role.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, in the show there was Billy, Graham, Karen played keyboards. Graham was lead guitar. Mm. Eddie was on bass.
Yeah.
And Warren was on drums.
Yeah.
And
Eddie.
And that's what I. But
Peter.
But
I think Peter was the other guy.
But Karen was a British girl.
Okay.
In the show.
Yeah.
Because she's played by Suki. What's her name? Suki Waterhouse.
Yeah.
I think she married Robert Pattinson. Did you know that? Yeah, and they had a kid. Anyway, but we digress. We want to keep this under 6 hours. So anyway, so they, Karen she was from outside. They came across her playing with another band, mm-hmm. and they were like, "We want you to be in our band, and we're going to Los Angeles. If you want to go with us, show up, be here, Mm-hmm. And so she hated the band she was in. So she left to join them.
Yeah.
And
yes, and
Camila talked her into staying because when she got there, she was like, "I thought this was going to be the same old crap like mm-hmm. my old band." And Camila was like, "No, trust me, these guys are not. Yeah. These guys are okay."
Yeah.
But Graham saw her and he was like, all googly eyed. So yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
The guy. Yeah, they had a whole thing, and it was kind of known that he was way more in love with her than she was with him. And at one point, she finds out she's pregnant, and she decides to have an abortion, and
Yeah,
it's
that
this
kind of.
whole big thing. It's
Yeah,
all ugly there for a
that was
second.
all in the show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the band goes through, right, just like a normal band. They reach a peak. I'll put it this way. So Daisy, we kind of left Daisy off here for a
Yeah.
second. Daisy joins them because she gets picked up by the same record label that Teddy runs, whatever it
Yeah.
is. That
Yeah,
that's
he
how
found
they.
both of them.
Yeah,
He
that's how.
found that band, the Dunne Brother band, and he found, or the Six. They were just calling
Yeah,
themselves the Six, and
yeah.
he found Daisy, and
And they were doing separate things, and Daisy
Billy
wanted.
had done his crazy shit and or stuff, and and he anyway in the record label in the show the record label was all like, well, we don't want to take another chance on him because he blew because they sent him out on tour.
Mm-hmm.
The Six cut a record and they sent him out on tour, and Billy
Went wild.
wild, and so after the record label was like, no, we don't want any part of this, so Teddy was trying to get him going again,
Mm-hmm.
and he decided to bring Daisy in, is how it showed it played out in the show.
Kind of different through the book. Daisy was made some deal to sing songs for this record, and she just didn't want to do it. She wanted to write her own music. That was her big thing. Like, she's a singer, but she wanted to write her own music.
Trying to dance her own steps.
Yes. She was getting, that's kind of what prompted it. She was getting upset. She'd had these boyfriends, and she would say these words and help these boyfriends make their songs, right? And she was getting upset. She was like, this is my stuff. I need to put it out there. So she gets on with this deal, and when she finds out she can't produce her own music, right? She can't write she's got to sing somebody else's song. She gets all upset. It's this whole big thing. And Teddy basically says, look, do this, and then after this, you can start doing your own songs. So she gets to a point. She is also on drugs. Let it be known.
Yeah, there's a lot of drugs done on this.
So very much on drugs.
So if you have any objections to watching or apparently reading about extensive alcohol and drug abuse,
very much
you want to stay away from the story.
Yeah.
Because the TV show, they're always drinking. They got a giant bottle of whiskey or whatever all the time, champagne, whiskey. And then and then they're always turning away, snorting something up their nose.
Yeah, so there's multiple mentions of Daisy always having pills in her pockets.
Yeah, so, that and
always
and
something.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of weed smoking though.
No,
oddly enough.
No,
pills and coke and
a lot of hard things
and alcohol, but not a lot of weed going on there. So.
Yeah, so Daisy gets to this point, and she's like, okay, I'll get straight. I'll do this thing so I can produce my own songs, right? And when she gets the opportunity to make her own music, she makes a whole album, and it goes crazy. They love it. They absolutely adore her. And because of that, she was made well known enough that Billy at some point had written this song, and they were going to produce a second album. That's what they were going to work on, a second album here. Mm-hmm. And they thought, Teddy thought that Daisy should sing that song with him. So he should write a bit to match her part in that song. They sang that song together, and it just set off. It was like, that's awesome. Everybody loved this song. So she kind of was like oh man, I forgot. When a concert has the band that goes on before the headliner.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Opening act.
There we go. Yeah. So she essentially became the opening act for the Six, right? For a little while.
Yeah, this plays out differently in the
and then eventually they get this reporter come in, I think from the Rolling Stones, that does this big, story about them, and basically says, why is it the Six? It should be the Seven. And Daisy eventually gets adopted in because of that. And Billy absolutely hated it. He was not a fan of that at all.
Definitely.
He was not on board.
Definitely, yeah.
Everybody else in the band was like, nah, this is really cool, actually. Everybody loves this.
So that's what they did. Like I said, they got them together differently in the show. What it was he had gone crazy on that tour, and the label dropped him, and Teddy was trying to bring him back, and he had met Daisy, and Daisy hadn't done anything yet. Mm-hmm. So that was one big difference. and he's like, I know this girl. She writes a lot of songs. She's a really good singer. Let's bring her in and play, and y'all two together. And I think y'all would make great music. And they bring her in. And again, Billy hated it.
Yeah.
The other band, the rest of the band members was like, oh, we love her. She's great. And you guys are
Mhm.
sound so great together. And that's how they got together in the show.
Yeah.
So they
So
did
they do
that.
this little bit of a tour, and then eventually they merge and they start singing the songs together. There's different songs that she makes a part of. And then because that was so successful, they take a break for a little bit, and then they come back and they decide to write an album together.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of butting heads. And I thought this was really cool because I learned a little bit about writing music, I think. I Of course, when you listen to a song, you kind of think, what is the song about, right? The person who wrote this song, what was the intent behind the song? And you kind of get a little bit of that in the book. You kind of get a
Mhm.
little understanding of it, but it's like, you know how you have your point of view, my point of view, and then the right point of view, right? Like that. And it was kind of like that where the when Daisy and Billy were writing these songs, he was like, this is what this song was about. It was focused on this. It was about this in particular. And then Daisy's over here saying the complete opposite. And she's like, when we were writing the song, it was about this. And this is what we were going over. This was the meaning
Songs are
behind the song.
very subjective.
Exactly.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool that you could, like, it was like real time
Yeah.
seeing that. Yeah.
But that if you ever want to see an actual band kind of go through that process, there's a documentary about the Beatles, their last
Okay.
album, making their last album.
Uh huh.
It's amazing, and you get to watch Paul and John create songs
Uh huh.
together, and it's amazing documentary. Everybody should watch it. I'll list it. I'll get the name of it and list it in the description. But it's whether you like the Beatles or not, just watching that creative process, because Paul McCartney and John Lennon had such an amazing, they were the heart and soul of the Beatles,
Mm-hmm.
and which is a lot of why George Harrison was so unhappy in the band, because so much of it was about them two. It was about their chemistry together and about their
Mm-hmm.
songwriting ability when they got together. I mean, it was just. I mean, and just watching them, you could just see it. It's
Uh huh.
almost like a living thing. Their collaboration. It's really amazing documentary. It's definitely what I think it's on HBO Max, but I'm not sure about that. Anyway,
So
so
I could say that this kind of touches on it like
yeah.
that because it's about Billy and Daisy and their chemistry. And
Mm,
even though they're forbidden, they're not supposed to be together. Camilla's the love of Billy's life. It's this whole
yeah.
thing, right? And but there's multiple times like when they shoot the video, or excuse me, when they shoot the pictures, they take pictures for the album cover,
Hmm.
and the everything that they saw, the photographer was seeing through the lenses, right? It was like, you're like, okay, you can see the chemistry, you can see stuff happening, but real time they can't do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
It's existing there, and because of that, they're able to make this music. And even though they saw it in two different ways, and it is an interview, it is interview process, and once you realize that the daughter is the one doing the interview,
Hmm.
it makes you question how subdued some of the stuff Billy was talking about.
How honest
How
he,
exactly.
exactly how honest he was
Right.
being.
How
Yeah.
yeah, cuz I
So
want to say it was in general probably pretty accurate, but I think his relationship with Daisy would not be talked about as blatantly with his daughter being the
yeah,
interviewer, right? I don't see it that way.
yeah. So so anyway, so in the series, they they collaborate, they write this album, they record this album, and then they're going to go on tour. And they already tell you beforehand in the series that this is the only album and the only tour that Daisy Jones and the Six does. Right? There's all
Mhm.
this foreshadowing. At the time, that's what we knew, as all the so in the series, that kind of stuff annoys me in books and in shows. I don't If you're gonna foreshadow something, don't hit me over the freaking head with it.
That's fair.
Be subtle about it, where I have to look for the foreshadowing, or I have to go back after watching it and go, "Oh man, there was all these
Uh-huh.
clues along the way, but I didn't see them beforehand." That's how to do foreshadowing. But just this whole dun 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 dun, it's just super super freaking annoying to me. I don't know, maybe other people like it because I read it a lot and I see it a lot in TV shows. So apparently it's something that they do a lot. So
Yeah.
somebody's got to like it. But for me, it just annoys me. Either just freaking tell the story, plant little clues along the way if you want to, that's fine. But just tell the story. Oh, and then we knew. If only we had known then what we know. Whatever, it's annoying. So I don't know how you feel about that. But
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but I can tell you that's probably more of a movie TV thing because it wasn't like that in the book, right?
okay,
And
so they did. So you
didn't
didn't,
like
yeah.
as blatantly. Like you could tell. I didn't know you said it was like this is the only one. It didn't set it up that way. You weren't knowledgeable of that. It said that the beginning of it says how the band started and how it ended. Basically, it was like how it got dismantled. So you kind of knew it didn't prosper,
Yeah.
but it hit something because it mentioned multiple times how Daisy Jones and the Six was one of the biggest band at the time, the best band. Like it
Yeah.
lyricists and everything.
Sold
Like
out tour,
yeah.
album was platinum. I
Yeah.
mean, all that stuff. Yeah, they went on and on about it, and then it all fell
Yeah,
apart.
and that was
Dun, dun,
it.
dun.
And it was after they wrote that album together, and Daisy decided she was absolutely in love with Billy, and Billy was said, "You can't be in love with me. I have a wife and 3 kids at this point."
He only had one in the show.
Okay, yeah, he had the daughter and then twins. I think was the next set.
Okay.
And Camila is so strong through all of it because at some point she realizes the relationship, right? Like she's keen to it. It mentions that they don't have an actual conversation, but at one
in the
point,
show, she confronts him about it repeatedly.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, it was very much mentioned that they did not have a conversation. It was just kind of
The band was like that. The band was like, eyeballing them, but like, okay, we're just going to pretend like this isn't happening because we have this amazing success that we're enjoying the hell out of, and we don't want to do anything to rock this boat. So we're just going to pretend like all that over there isn't happening.
Yeah.
But Camilla she was all up in Billy's face about it. She never really confronted Daisy. Um, they only have a couple of conversations about the whole thing, and that's towards the end. But Billy, she definitely. But she in the show, when she was pregnant, she had gone chasing after him while he was on tour, and she busted in on him with some women, and so maybe she was a little more, and that's when she got all up in his face and was like, "We're not going to do this." She's pointing at him.
Yeah,
I was like, "You tell him, girl."
Yeah.
So
yeah, that part happened, but she didn't address the Daisy thing. They didn't really. That's why I mentioned the thing that it felt like Billy's side of it might have been pulled back a little bit because it really came across as Billy constantly saying, "This may have happened. This may have been a thing, but I was focused on my family. I decided that I was going to be a good man to my wife and my children, and that's what I was going to do."
Decide that several times.
Yeah, so that's fair.
So I think we can read between the lines on what that exactly means. So he was deciding over and over again that, oh no, I'm a family man. I'm focused on my wife and my daughter as the most important things in the world to me. So definitely. So if you have to do that over and over again, we kind of have an idea what's going on there.
So it hits a point after they write that album together, and Daisy is absolutely enthralled. Right, she just loves him to death, and another part about learning how songs are written, how songs are set up on an album. I didn't think about that side of it, and that was mentioned. Billy talked about how he wanted it like to slowly rise, like a roller coaster going up and then slowly back down, and then
there is a podcast that talks about stuff like that. Yeah, it's really interesting. So they break down songs even. Like I listened to one where they took Pink Pony Club girl. They took her song, the country song she wrote, and they were like, and they just broke it down. This is where this is that. Listen to this. You can see what influenced this part. I mean, they broke the whole piece of it down. They talked about the lyrics and the meaning behind the lyrics, what she might have been trying to portray, all this stuff. It was really good, and I'd seen them. I listened to it. I don't listen to it a lot. But again, I'll get the name of that podcast and put it in the description. But if you want to listen to that kind of thing, because that's what they do. It's pop music. They take pop songs and they break them down and like that. And it's really interesting
Yeah.
to listen to and just kind of see how the sausage is made there.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if you're interested in that kind of thing, not everybody is. Some people just want to turn on the radio and listen to a song,
That's
and
true.
that's perfectly fine. So,
Yeah. But I found it interesting.
yeah,
And
but it's a process. I mean, you don't really think about it until something like this brings it to your
exactly.
attention.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, of course.
Uh-huh.
It's one of them obvious things that you're like,
Yeah.
it never occurs to you.
Exactly.
And then until it does, and then you're like, oh, wow. And then it kind of makes you rethink like all your favorites.
The favorites. That's what I kept going back to. My favorites in particular, how they set their songs up and why
where this came from and that came from. What was their process? Why did they decide this and decide that? And that's how I learned that sometimes songs don't have any meaning.
Uh-huh.
They just choose those lines because they fit in with the music that they want to put them to. And that was the Beatles. That's why a lot of the Beatles lyrics are so crazy, because John Lennon was just super creative. They were like, okay, we needed something to go here, and he's just throwing things off that would just fit in with that line, And like I said, that's why even whether you're a Beatles fan or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And of course, that was in Paul McCartney's super hot stage with all the facial hair, so I can highly recommend. He had great facial hair, okay, back in the day. Take my word for it. But anyway, but we digress again.
Yeah.
So we're at the 30-minute mark, so we need to wrap this sucker up.
So they do the album, and they have to play the songs because they're going on tour now. And Daisy, basically, that's the end of it, because Daisy can't stand being on stage singing some of these songs that she has written, right? They've collaborated on a lot of stuff, and it was back and forth on a lot of things. And like I mentioned, Billy thought the song was going this way, but Daisy thought the song was going this way. So while she's sitting up there and she has to sing this song to this guy that she can't be in love with, she can't have anything to do with, doesn't want anything to do with her, she couldn't do it anymore. And this is when Camila actually confronts her. That this is the point.
Okay.
And when you find out that the daughter is the interviewer, because she goes, okay, hold on, I have to validate Daisy's story. This is an actual conversation between me and Daisy. And you find out that one night Daisy's really messed up, and she basically can't get into the hotel room. And she's crying at the door at the hotel room, and Camila and the daughter show up, and Camila helps her in the room and basically tells Daisy, look, you're not going to ruin my life. You're not going to ruin my husband's life. You're not going to ruin your life. You need to stop all of this that you're doing.
Daisy was very dramatic.
Yes. And
very over the top dramatic.
Yeah. So basically, that's what Camila said. She's like, he's never going to be with you. He's my guy. We've decided a long time ago that this is what's going to happen. And he's committed to me, and I'm not going to let you mess any of this up. You need to straighten up. You need to basically leave the band. And
oh wow!
Out of all the people in Daisy's life, Camila said something that got through to her, and she straightened up. And that's basically how it wrapped up. She leaves that night, so they can't finish the tour. And
so in the book, does Daisy have a friend named Simone Jackson?
There is a disco singer, yes.
Yeah.
And that's basically her only friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
is there did Daisy get married to some European dude named Nicky?
Yes.
Okay.
So Daisy had a lot of bad boyfriends, and she ends up somewhere and she meets that guy Nicky, and Nicky runs her for everything. He did more drugs than she did, and she paid for them all.
He was terrible. He was terrible.
Yeah.
So he was not a good guy.
Was one of those that again picked her up and was like, "You can't do this anymore. You need to get straight." And out of the two, again, very limited amount of people in Daisy's life that did anything for her, she really listened to the ones that did. And she left that night. The band dismantled. One of the band members didn't, like you mentioned, didn't want to be in the band, and that's when he was like, okay, well, we're going now, and he went off and did his own thing. He was like, that's it. I've been wanting to do this for a while. He had a girlfriend, got married to her, and he was like, I don't want to be a part of this. And he literally has no speaking part through the whole thing. You're getting all these different viewpoints until the very end, and he basically says, yeah, I was in the band. Yeah, I did things. It was a thing. Not a big thing.
Good for him. great.
Yeah.
That's the Warren in the TV show. He was like the super chill guy. He was the drummer, and he didn't have a big part to play. He did have a bit of a storyline, but it wasn't much. But every time they interviewed him, he was super chill. He was my favorite character in the whole thing.
Mhm.
I'll be honest with you. Who would you say you had a favorite character, or was there one character you liked more than the rest, or
So
did you?
I did want to mention this as one note that I did take. I can say I have always wanted to be Daisy.
Just like a destructive force to everybody that she touches because Daisy has some serious emotional problems, please.
Daisy said at one point that she gets real upset because everybody tells her that she has everything, but she doesn't have the thing that everybody actually wants because she didn't have anybody, right? She didn't have
Yeah,
anybody.
she was very,
And
very lonely.
she
Very lonely, that girl.
she was. Minus all that, Daisy is the person that I really wanted to be when I started listening to music when I was going through my angsty emo phase. Like Daisy was the chick who didn't care at all what you thought about her, what you said about her. She was going to do her thing.
I do like the way she dressed. Her costumes
That's
in the series were gorgeous. I would love to be that thin first and be able to dress that way. Which is, I mean, she's half naked all the time.
Yes,
which
that was a constant thing. And then
which that's fine because when the band first meets her, she comes in and she's just wearing this big like man's shirt, and
that's exactly
and she walks out of the room, and the band looks at each other and goes, "Where were her pants?"
That's funny.
So, but yeah, and
So Daisy, and then Karen, hands down. Karen
was
the
a cool chick. She was the cool chick. Yeah.
She said that at one point whoever was promoting the band told her that she needed to wear cut off shorts, and like V-neck shirts, show off her boobs a little bit.
Mhm.
And she said, "I told him to go F himself, and I wear turtlenecks and pants."
Good for her. She was like that in the show. She was like, I'm not going to be the chick. I'm not going to be the girlfriend. That's why she wanted to hide that relationship.
Yep.
And basically why she ended up letting him go because she didn't want to be the chick. She didn't want to be the girlfriend. She didn't want to be the wife. She wanted to be her, and she gave up a lot to do that, and she knew that.
Yes,
which to her benefit, definitely, she knew exactly what she was giving up.
Yes.
And she knew, and she probably had her regrets, I think.
Yeah.
But I did like her. She was pretty good. But like I said, Warren was my favorite. Warren was super chill. The guy that played Warren was awesome. The guy that played Warren, his name was Sebastian Chacon, Chacon, and he was. I really, really liked him. But yeah, he had a very different story arc in the show. We're going to leave a few things for you to discover if you happen across this first. But anyway, so anyone that stood out like consistently, just Daisy. You really connected with Daisy in a way.
The girl rock star, like I really, that's just like my favorite. Absolutely. I aspire to be a girl rock star, and Daisy and Karen were both different aspects of that, basically,
And so, so those were the two that you, okay. So, okay. So, and Chips and, sorry, so it's a private joke between me and my lovely daughter. So the what I usually do with the book is I don't give it a grade because I don't like grading books because I don't understand. People say I'll give this one a 4.7 and I'll give that one a 3.2, and I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. That doesn't mean anything to me. So basically what I do is, would you recommend this book to someone? Would you give this to someone and say, hey, I think you'd really enjoy this? Or would you if somebody asked you about the book, would you go, nah, you can skip that one and you'll be fine?
I would recommend it. I think overall it was an easy read. It's not very long. It's maybe 300 pages. And because it's set up interview style, it's very blocky. So it's kind of, again, it's
a smooth read.
Yeah, it's easy to read. And because it's set up like that, you can literally picture how the story's happening. You can picture them talking to the interviewer. You can, like you mentioned, them going into the past or the memories or whatever. You can kind of picture them sitting back and talking about. Yeah, it's just an easy read, and the story itself I enjoyed. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
Okay. What about the author? Do you think you'd pick up another book by this author?
I would, because I did have that thought when I finished this book. I looked up to see what other books she wrote.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The TV series, I got a little bit of a different on. You'd have to, if you really love the book, you're probably going to go watch the show anyway, right?
I will.
I don't think it was that great. The chemistry between the guy that played Billy and the woman that played Daisy just simply wasn't there. The only reason why you knew that they were supposed to be this electric explosion was the reaction of the people around them. His voice wasn't that great, wasn't very strong. It was a decent voice, but it wasn't a strong voice. She had a very strong voice. The woman that played Daisy is actually Elvis Presley's granddaughter.
Oh, cute.
Her name is Riley. Don't know how to pronounce the last name. Again, I'll put this in the description. But the guy was from the Hunger Games movies. He was that Finn, I think was his name.
Yeah.
I think he was that guy. It's Sam Claflin.
Okay.
Claflin.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think he's supposed to be British or something. But again, mediocre voice. She had a great voice. She had a very powerful voice. And so she would drown him out. You could barely hear him when they were singing together. And she was very much more of a performer. He was acting like a rock star. You could see her actually being a rock star because she just it looked really natural, and it came, and the way she performed and stuff, and he was a little stiffer. And especially in the drunk and drug, when the scenes like those, bless his heart, he was just acting really, really hard. Okay, you could see it. He tried, so good on him. He's a handsome guy, but then it also set it up where he was supposed to be like 20 years old, and he's looking like he's 40. I have no idea how old this guy is, but I'm like, from the time he's 20 until the end of the show, like 10 years later or whatever, he looks the same. And he looks, I'm like, man, people really looked old in the 70s. And whereas she looked the same as well, but she was at 30-ish. You looked at her and you thought, oh, she's probably 30-ish, from the time she was 20 until she was 40. But him, it didn't come off that well. He didn't look the type. It didn't, and they didn't really have a lot of chemistry at all. The band members had good chemistry. The guy that played Graham, Graham was played by Will Harrison, and Suki Waterhouse. They had good chemistry.
Yeah.
And then the guy that played Eddie, the bass player, the unhappy guy, he was unhappy in the series. He's one that eventually left the band at the end. Went off and did his own thing. Josh Whitehouse was his name. He was fine, but again, he didn't have a whole lot of story. But in the series, he was in love with Camila. Was he in love with Camila in the book?
No.
Okay, in the series, he was. Yeah, and he was very jealous of Billy.
So he was jealous of Billy, but it was more of this guy's taking over the band. He's a big tough guy. Why can't we all be a part of the band? And that was really what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so the series, if you like the book, watch the series. I feel like otherwise, which probably why it didn't do very well. It got a lot of publicity. It's on Prime.
Yeah.
And they really tried to build it up, but I can see why it fizzled because the music wasn't very good. She was just like trying to belt these songs out, but it was like they put this mute on the songs and stuff. And it was just like, the music really wasn't coming through. And it's like, this was the 70s. The 70s music rock scene was these electric guitars, this driving sound, this loud and wild and raucous, and they just muted that whole thing, and it was
Yeah.
just, they just, cut its nuts off, and it was really disappointing. And you're just sitting there and you're just wanting it to be more, because it's like you're teased with it,
Uh-huh.
and you're just like, when's it gonna really hit? And it never hits. And so
Yeah.
it's like, when's that beat gonna drop? And it never drops. And you're
Yeah.
sitting there feeling it, feeling it, feeling it, and the song's over, and you're just like, yeah. So that was kind of the way this was.
Yeah.
So yeah. So like I said, I don't know that I'd recommend it, but like I said, if you're a fan of the books, you're probably going to go watch it just to see what they do with it. I know I would. That would be me. I'll
Yeah.
probably like this. I'm going to go read the book to see how the book can, what the origin story, original story was.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but yeah. So I would like to thank my lovely daughter for the third time, Shalise. Shalise. For doing this with me, doing this video with me. I really, really appreciate it. And Specs too, even though she's a little bit of a pain in the behind. We like her anyway because she's cute. She got the ear thing going on. Let's see if we can get some good ear action going. What do you do to get her ears? There we go. Anyway, all right. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.